Yo, fam, listen up. If you're a Commanders fan and you're watching this right now, let me tell you something. This offseason is going to define everything, and I'm not exaggerating. After a 2025 season that left us with more questions than answers, Jaden Daniels hurt for half the year, a defense that went from dominant to, well, you know this team needs smart, fast, and bold moves, and today's news, it's giving us exactly that. Clues about what Adam Peters and company are cooking up to get back to the top of the NFC. We're diving into three major things happening in Washington right now. First, the Laremy Tunsil contract extension, bro. This is way more important than people think. Second, a 3-round mock draft that has the Commanders going all defense. And honestly, it makes total sense. And third, the elephant in the room. Bobby Wagner might be out. And 2 NFC teams are lurking. This ain't just off-season noise, fam. This is the blueprint for how this team is trying to get back to contender status in 2026. So buckle up, because this is about to get real. Bro, let's start with something that has to happen, locking up Laremy Tunsil. And when I say it has to happen, that's not an opinion, it's a strategic necessity. Adam Peters already said it straight. They want to extend Tunsil sooner rather than later. And that, fam, is music to my ears. Let me give you the full picture. Washington didn't just hand out scraps to get Tunsil from Houston. They sent the Texans a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 7th round pick and got a 4th back. That's a big package for a 31-year-old tackle who didn't even make the Pro Bowl on the first ballot. But here's what people don't get. Pro Football Focus ranked him as the 7th best tackle in the league in 2025 and 2nd best in pass protection. That's not a fluke, bro. That's elite football, period. Now let's talk about why Tunsil is so important to this team. Left tackle is literally the 2nd most important position in football after quarterback. That's the player protecting the QB's blind side, going up against the best edge rushers in the league every single week. And in the NFC East, fam, that means facing Micah Parsons twice a year, Hassan Reddick, Brian Burns. These dudes are monsters. You need an elite tackle to hold them off. The issue is, Tunsil spent most of the 2025 season protecting Marcus Mariota, not Jaden Daniels. JD only played 7 games last year because of injuries. So the real chemistry between him and Tunsil barely had time to develop. And that's what makes this extension even more critical. Because when Daniels was healthy in 2024, we saw what this kid can do. Rookie of the Year, took the Commanders to the NFC Championship game, played with a confidence and poise we hadn't seen in DC since, bro, I don't know, Kirk Cousins, RG3's rookie year? It's been a minute, but all that fell apart in 2025 when Daniels got hurt. And part of the problem was inconsistent protection. Now, I'm not saying that was on Tunsil. He was solid when he played. But the rest of the line struggled. And when your QB is running for their life every 3rd down, things go south fast. So locking up Tunsil long-term isn't just about having a good tackle. It's about giving Jaden Daniels the best shot to grow into the franchise QB we believe he can be, and that starts with elite blindside protection. Let's talk numbers. Tunsil is currently on a 3-year, $75 million deal he signed with Houston in 2023. That contract runs through the end of the 2026 season, which means he's got 1 year left. But if they don't extend him now, he's going to count for $24.91 million against the cap this year. That's a lot of money for a guy who could walk in a year, and it limits the team's financial flexibility. Here's the good news. The Commanders have over $76 million in projected cap space. And that number's only going up before the league year starts on March 11th. So yeah, they've got the cash. It's not about can we afford him? It's about how much is it going to cost and how do we structure it? And bro, Tunsil ain't cheap. This dude has negotiated some TOUGH contracts in the past. And he's got every reason to keep doing it. When the Texans got him from Miami in 2019, they gave up TWO first-rounders and a second. That's a massive haul. And after that trade, Houston knew they had to pay him to justify the move. So in 2020, Tunsil signed an extension that made him the highest-paid tackle in the league at $22 million per year. That deal reset the market. And even though the market shifted a bit after that, Tunsil got another big bag in 2023, $50 million guaranteed at signing, compared to $40 million in his 2020 deal. This man knows his worth. And his agents know how to get it got. So what does that mean for Washington? It means they're going to have to open the wallet. We're probably talking about a deal in the $20 to $23 million per year range, with a solid chunk guaranteed. But fam, when you've got Jaden Daniels as your future QB, protecting him is non-negotiable. And Tunsil is one of the best in the business at doing just that. Adam Peters said there's been constant communication between the team and Tunsil's camp about a new deal, which tells me both sides want this to happen. This isn't a situation where the player wants out or the team's unsure. Both sides see the value in keeping this going. That's huge. Now, let's talk roster implications. Washington already has two big contracts on the O-line, Samuel Cosmi at $18.5 million per year and Tyler Biadasz at $10 million. Cosmi's been solid at right tackle, and Biadasz has been a steady center. But Biadasz could be up for an extension down the line. Tunsil is priority number one. And that makes sense, bro. Left tackle is the most important spot on the line. After QB, you don't cheap out their plus. The Commanders have ways to free up cap space if needed. They could save $18.5 million by cutting Marshon Lattimore and nearly $4 million by cutting Nick Allegretti. Lattimore was a trade that didn't pan out. He came in with high expectations but didn't deliver in the secondary. Cutting him frees up serious space. Allegretti's a backup lineman, and while he's useful, $4 million is a lot for a backup. Could also restructure Darren Payne's deal to free up cap, though that's not a lock yet. Payne's set to count for $27.95 million against the cap this year, the highest number on the roster. That's not sustainable long term. But we'll get into Payne later. What I love about this Tunsil move is that it shows Adam Peters has a clear plan. He's not winging it. He knows that to compete in the NFC East, you need a dominant offensive line. And with Tunsil, Cosmi, and Biadasz as anchors, Washington can build something special. But it all starts with locking up Tunsil long term. And look, I know some fans are like, bro, he's 31. Are we really giving him another big deal? And my answer is yes, because this dude is still playing at an elite level. He hasn't dropped off. In fact, PFF has him as one of the best in the league. And if you extend him now, you can structure the deal to give you flexibility down the road. That's what smart teams do. Think about it. Give Tunsil a 3-year deal. He'll be 34 when it ends. That's manageable. And you can build in outs after year 2 if his play drops off. But honestly, the way this guy takes care of his body and the way he plays, I wouldn't be shocked if he's still elite at 30-5. And here's something people overlook: mentorship. Tunsil's an 11-year vet. He's played in Miami, Houston, and now Washington. He's seen different systems, coaches, philosophies. That knowledge is priceless for young linemen. He can teach technique, film study, how to prep for different rushers. That doesn't show up in the box score, but it's real. Plus, stability on the O-line is critical for a young QB's development. Jaden Daniels needs to know he's got reliable protection. He needs to trust that when he drops back, got time to go through his reads. Tunsil gives him that trust. Now, big picture, the Commanders just fired Cliff Kingsbury as OC and promoted David Blau. That's a huge shift in offensive philosophy. Kingsbury was all about air raid, lots of passing, high tempo. Blau, a former NFL QB turned coach, is probably bringing a different vibe. We don't know exactly what yet, but the point is, having Tunsil as a constant on the O-line is going to be crucial during this transition. When you change OCS, there's an adjustment period. Players have to learn new concepts, protections, calls. Having vets who can help with, that makes the transition smoother. And Tunsil is exactly that kind of vet. Bottom line, fam, extending Laremy Tunsil isn't just a good idea, it's essential. Washington gave up too much to get him to let him walk after 1 year. And if they want Jaden Daniels to get back to being the QB we all fell in love with in 2024, they need this man protecting his blind side. Period. No debate. This has to happen. Okay, bro, we talked about protecting JD in the present. But now we gotta talk about the future. And the future, fam, is the draft. Because Washington's got a new mock draft that's got everybody talking. And when you see the pits, you'll understand why this defense could be elite again. All right, listen. If there's one thing that was crystal clear in 2025, it's that the Commanders' defense needs help. And I'm not talking about a few tweaks here and there. I'm talking about a full-on overhaul. We went from a respectable defense in 2024 to, well, what we saw last year. And that can't happen again. Chad Roeder from NFL.com just dropped a 3-round mock draft. And he's got Washington going all defense with their top 2 picks. And bro, when I saw the names, my first reaction was, okay, this makes total sense. Let's start with the number 7 overall pick. Caleb Downs, safety out of Ohio State, and fam. If you don't know who Caleb Downs is, let me put you on. This dude is, according to a lot of scouts, the best player in the entire draft. Not the best safety. The best player. Period. Let's break down who Caleb Downs is and why he's so special. Downs played 2 years at Alabama before transferring to Ohio State for his junior season. At Bama, he was a day 1 starter as a freshman, which is crazy considering the talent they've got down there. He racked up 107 tackles in 2 years, 5 picks, 10 pass breakups, and showed a versatility that had scouts buzzing. When he transferred to Ohio State, some thought it was a step down, but it turned out to be the opposite. In Columbus, Downs took his game to another level. He played in a more complex defensive system under DC Jim Knowles, who's known for demanding a lot from his safeties. And Downs didn't just meet expectations, he dominated. Reuter put it like this: the Commanders take the best player on the board to be a long-term pillar of their defense. Downs can lead the squad from the back end and insert himself in the plays around the box, thanks to his elite instincts. And that, bro, is exactly what Washington needs. A safety who can do it all. Deep coverage, box work, leadership. Downs is that guy. Let's go deeper into his skill set. Downs has a rare combo of athleticism, instincts, and football IQ. He runs a 4.45 in the 40. That's fast for a safety. He's got a 38-inch vertical, which means he can go up and compete for jump balls. But what really separates him is how he processes the game. Downs reads quarterbacks like he's got the playbook in his hands. He diagnoses plays pre-snap, adjusts based on formations, and communicates those changes to his teammates. That's what elite NFL safeties do. They don't just react, they anticipate. And here's the kicker. Washington's new defensive coordinator is Daronte Jones, who spent the last few years coaching Harrison Smith in Minnesota. Smith is a future Hall of Famer safety who could do everything: play deep, play in the box, blitz, cover tight ends. And Downs has that same exact profile. Imagine Jones molding Downs the same way he molded Smith. Bro, that's a cheat code. Jones knows exactly how to unlock a versatile safety's full potential. And Downs is the perfect clay to work with. Now, let's talk scheme fit. Washington ran a lot of cover 3 and cover 1 in 2025, but with the lack of talent in the secondary, they couldn't execute those schemes consistently. Downs changes that immediately. In cover 3, Downs can play the deep middle third, where his range and anticipation let him close gaps fast. In cover 1, he can be the robber reading the QB's eyes and jumping intermediate routes. And against the run, He can drop into the box and play like an extra linebacker, where his instincts and tackling shine. But here's what really gets me hyped. Downs isn't just a good player. He's a game changer. The kind of guy who flips momentum with one play, a clutch interception, a third down tackle for loss, a pass breakup in the red zone. Those are the plays that define seasons. And in a division like the NFC East, where you're facing Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, and Daniel Jones, or whoever's under center in New York, having an elite safety is crucial. Prescott is one of the best in the league at reading defenses. Hurts can extend plays with his legs. You need a safety who can adjust to those dynamic threats. Downs is that guy. Now, some fans might say, bro, shouldn't we go edge rusher or corner? And look, I get it. Edge is a need. Corner is a need. But here's the thing. If Caleb Downs is there at pick 7, and he's the best player on the board, you don't pass on him. That's drafting 101. You take the best talent available, especially when it's a guy who can transform your defense. And besides, Washington's got other picks. They've got pick 71 in the 3rd round. They can address other needs there. But at pick 7, if you've got a shot at a guy who could be an all-pro for the next 10 years, you don't overthink it. Now, let's talk about that second pick. Logan Fano, edge rusher out of Utah, at pick 71. This is the brother of Spencer Fano, the offensive tackle from Utah, who's projected to go top 10. But Logan's on the other side of the ball, and while he doesn't have flashy sack numbers, he brings something Washington needs. Versatility and reliability. Reuters said, Fano brings plenty of experience to the NFL and can set the edge. He has a high floor, but some may consider his ceiling limited due to his lack of sack production. Fano is absolutely the type of player you select on day 3 because he can come in and help you immediately. And that, is key. Fano's not a project. He's a guy who can step in from day 1 and contribute. He can set the edge in the run game, rush the passer in specific packages, and he's got experience playing in a high-level program. That kind of player is valuable, especially in the 3rd round. Let's dig into Logan Fano. He played 4 years at Utah, where he was a consistent starter on one of the best defenses in the Pac-12 before it became the Big 12. But you get it. Over his career, he totaled 156 tackles, 28.5 tackles for loss, and 11.5 sacks. Not eye-popping, but steady and productive. What makes Fano valuable is his technique. He's fundamentally sound, uses his hands well, maintains leverage, and rarely gets out of position. Against the run, he's an anchor. He can set the edge against tight ends and tackles, forcing runs back inside where the linebackers can clean up. As a pass rusher, Fano's not going to get you double-digit sacks, but he can generate pressure in the right situations. He's got a solid bull rush, and he knows how to use rip and swim moves to create separation. He's not a speed guy, but he's effective. And here's why Fano makes sense for Washington in the 3rd round. The Commanders need depth at edge. Right now, they don't have a dominant edge rusher on the roster. They need someone who can play early downs, set the edge, and contribute on passing downs. Fano can do all of that. Plus, Fano's got the kind of mindset that fits what Adam Peters is trying to build. He's a grinder, a lunch pail guy. Shows up, does the work, doesn't need the spotlight. Those are the dudes who win championships. Now, let's talk philosophy. Washington went 5-12 in 2025. That's a massive drop-off after making the NFC Championship game in 2024. And yeah, injuries played a big role. Jaden Daniels only played 7 games, but the defense was a constant problem. In 2024, the defense was solid. Not elite, but good enough. They created turnovers, got stops when it mattered, and gave the offense chances to win. But in 2025, it all fell apart. The secondary was a disaster. The pass rush disappeared. The run defense was inconsistent. It was a mess. Daroni Jones is here to fix that. But he needs talent. And this draft gives him exactly that: an elite safety who can lead the secondary, and a reliable edge rusher who can help right away. And bro, here's what I love about this approach. Washington's not trying to be cute. They're not overthinking. They're identifying their biggest weakness, defense, and going straight at it. That's what well-run teams do. Also, the Commanders don't have second or fourth round picks because they used them in the Laremy Tunsil trade. So they've got to maximize the value of the picks they do have. And taking Caleb Downs at 7 and Logan Fano at 71 does exactly that. Now, obviously, this is just a mock draft. Things can change. Downs might be gone before pick 7. There are rumors the Raiders at 6 love him. The Giants at 3 might even consider him. Fano might not be there at 71 if another team jumps early. But the philosophy behind this mock is what matters. Washington needs to rebuild the defense, and the draft is the best way to do it. And fam, if they land Caleb Downs, that's the kind of pick that changes a franchise. We're talking about a guy who could be an All-Pro for the next decade. That's the kind of talent dynasties are built on. Think Troy Polamalu, Ed Reed, Harrison Smith. Those are the safeties who define eras. And Downs has that kind of upside. Bottom line, this mock draft has Washington doing exactly what they need to do. Go all in on defense, take the best player available, and build a solid foundation for the future. And with Jaden Daniels coming back in 2026, if this defense steps up, this team can be a real contender in the NFC again. All right, bro. We talked about the future and how the draft could transform this defense. But now we gotta talk about something that's got me worried. Because one of the leaders of this defense, one of the greatest linebackers in NFL history, might be playing his last year in Washington, and 2 NFC teams are waiting to swoop in. And fam, if this happens, it would be a massive blow. Okay, fam, real talk. If Bobby Wagner leaves Washington, that's a big hit. And I'm not just talking about on the field. I'm talking leadership, experience, culture. Everything Wagner brings to this team goes way beyond the stat sheet. But the stats? They're insane too. In 2025. Bobby Wagner played all 17 regular season games. He racked up 162 total tackles, 4.5 sacks, 2 interceptions, and 4 pass breakups. At 35 years old, fam, 35. This man is playing like he's still 28. And that's not hype, that's FACTS. Let's put those numbers in perspective. 162 tackles is the second highest total of his entire career. His personal best is 167, which he hit back in 2016 with the Seahawks. At 35, he's producing at the same level he did in his prime. That's wild. Most linebackers at that age are in decline, playing limited snaps, taking backup roles. But Wagner? He's still an every-down linebacker, logging over 90% of the defensive snaps. And it's not just the quantity of tackles, it's the quality. Wagner rarely misses. He's got one of the best tackling percentages in the league. When he makes contact, the ball carrier goes down. That's huge for any defense. The 4.5 sacks? Also big. Linebackers aren't usually sack machines, but Wagner knows how to blitz. He reads protections, finds the gaps, and gets to the quarterback. Those sacks came in key moments, 2 momentum-shifting plays. The 2 picks show his football IQ. Wagner reads quarterbacks better than almost any linebacker in NFL history. He anticipates routes, positions himself in passing lanes, and makes plays on the ball. And the 4 pass breakups? That's versatility. He can cover running backs, tight ends, even the occasional slot receiver. But here's the issue. Wagner is a free agent this offseason. And Greg Allman from Fox Sports just linked him to 2 NFC teams, the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. And bro, both of those make sense for different reasons. Allman wrote, a new coordinator for the Commanders could mean Wagner is signing elsewhere, a future Hall of Famer still making plays on a consistent basis. Could he return to the Seahawks? Or Rams and try to chase a second ring on the way out? And there it is, the key phrase, second ring. Wagner already has one Super Bowl ring from his first run with Seattle, 2012 to 2021. He won Super Bowl 48 when the Seahawks destroyed Peyton Manning's Broncos 43-8. That was one of the most dominant defensive performances in Super Bowl history, and Wagner was a cornerstone of that legendary unit. Then he spent a year with the Rams in 2022, made it to Super Bowl 56, but they lost to the Bengals. He went back to Seattle in 2023, then signed with Washington in 2024. But now, at the tail end of his career, he wants one more shot at a title, Doc, so here's the million-dollar question. Can the Commanders offer him that? Look, I want to believe they can. With Jaden Daniels coming back, with Tunsil locked in, with the defense getting reloaded through the draft, this team can compete. But we also have to be real. The Rams just won Super Bowl 60. They still got Matthew Stafford playing at a high level. They've got Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and a defense that's one of the best in the league. They're contenders right now. Seattle's building something too. Geno Smith is playing the best football of his career. They've got a young, talented defense. And even though they didn't win Super Bowl 60, they made the playoffs and showed they can hang with anybody. For a 35-year-old player who knows he's only got maybe 2 or 3 years left, the temptation to join a ready-made contender is real. Wagner has said publicly he wants another ring before he retires. And if he thinks he's got a better shot in LA or Seattle, it's hard to blame him. But here's what Washington is going for them. Wagner's already here. He knows the system. He knows the players. He's got chemistry with the locker room. And even though Daronte Jones is a new defensive coordinator, Wagner is the kind of player who can adapt to any scheme. He's played in 4-3, 3-4 hybrid looks. He's a football savant. Plus, fam, let's talk about what Wagner means to this team beyond the stats. He's not just a linebacker. He's a leader. He's the guy keeping everyone locked in, making pre-snap adjustments, raising the level of play around him. Losing that would be devastating. Evan Massey, who wrote the original article, said it best. Even with that being said, Washington should do everything it can to re-sign Wagner. If the Commanders want to get back on track and be a serious contender in 2026, the longtime star linebacker would be a big part of that equation if he is re-signed. And I'm 100% with that. Washington has to do everything in their power to bring Wagner back. Because if he walks, you're not just losing production, you're losing leadership, experience, and a mentor for your young linebackers. Let's go deeper on that leadership. Wagner's the kind of guy who's at the facility at 6 in the morning, first in the film room, last one to leave. He sets the tone for professionalism across the board. And that's priceless, especially for a young team like the Commanders. Guys like Jamin Davis and Khaleke Hudson have learned a ton from Wagner. How to study film, how to prep for different offenses, how to communicate on the field. That kind of knowledge doesn't get replaced easily, and Wagner's the kind of player who keeps a defense focused when things get rough. When the other team's offense is rolling, when the momentum's slipping, Wagner is the calm voice that keeps everyone locked in. That's real leadership. Now let's talk about the Rams and Seahawks as landing spots. The Rams lost Aaron Donald to retirement, but they're still elite. Stafford's still slinging it. They've got a strong defense led by Jalen Ramsey, and they just won the Super Bowl. If Wagner wants a ring, the Rams are an obvious choice, and there's history there. Wagner played for the Rams in 2022. He knows the organization, knows Sean McVay, knows the system. It'd be a smooth transition. And the Rams probably have the cap space to make it work if they structured the deal right. Seattle, on the other hand, is where Wagner spent the bulk of his career. 10 years with the Seahawks from 2012 to 2021. That's home. That's where he became a Hall of Famer. That's where he won his first ring. The emotional connection is real, and the Seahawks could use his leadership. They've got a young defense that's still growing. Wagner could be the vet who helps them take the next step. And finishing his career in Seattle, that's got a storybook feel to it. But fam, here's what I believe. If Washington offers Wagner a competitive deal and shows him a clear plan to compete in 26, he stays. Wagner's not the kind of guy who chases money. He wants to win, yeah. But he also wants to be somewhere he's valued, where he can lead, where he can leave a legacy, and Washington can give him that. Especially with Jaden Daniels coming back. Because, bro, if JD stays healthy, this team can be dangerous. And Wagner knows that. He's seen what Daniels can do. He's seen how this kid can take over games. And if the defense steps up, this team has a real shot. Now let's talk money. Washington's got $76 million in cap space. They can afford Wagner. The question is, what's he willing to take? At 35, he's probably not getting a massive multi-year deal, but a 1 or 2 year contract with incentives. That could work for both sides. My prediction. Washington offers him a 2-year deal worth $16 to $18 million total, with $10 million guaranteed. That gives Wagner financial security and gives Washington flexibility. And if he balls out again in 2026, he could earn another deal after that. And here's my final take. Wagner stays. Because even though the Rams and Seahawks are tempting, Washington offers something they don't, the chance to be. The leader of a young defense, to mentor the next generation, to help build something from the ground up. That, fam, is what separates the greats from the legends. And Bobby Wagner is already a Hall of Famer, but staying in Washington and helping this team rise back to the top? That would be an epic chapter in his career. Bottom line, losing Bobby Wagner would be a massive blow. But if Washington steps up, shows in the vision, and offers a fair deal, I think he stays. And if he stays, this team has a real shot to compete in 2026. All right, fam. There you have it. 3 major stories, 3 KEY pieces of the Commanders' offseason puzzle. Locking up Laremy Tunsil to protect Jaden Daniels. Going all defense in the draft with Caleb Downs and Logan Fano. And keeping Bobby Wagner to lead and stabilize the defense. If Washington pulls off all 3, this team can be a real contender in the NFC again. But here's the truth, and this is important. Championships are won in the offseason, not in September when the games start. Not in January when the playoffs hit. Right now, in February and March, when G-Miz are making decisions that shape the next 3, 4 or 5 years of the franchise, and Adam Peters has shown he knows what he's doing. He brought in Tunsil in a trade people questioned, but it turned out to be brilliant. He's planning a defense-focused draft, which is exactly what this team needs. And if he re-signs Wagner, that's the cherry on top, bro. But this is just the beginning. Free agency kicks off in a month, March 11th. The Combine is in 2 weeks. The draft is in April. And between now and then, we'll be right here, breaking down every move, every rumor, every decision. Because that's what we do, fam. We live and breathe Commanders football. And after what happened in 2025, after watching Jaden Daniels go down, after living through a 5 and 12 season that broke our hearts, we deserve to be back on top. And with the right moves this offseason, that dream is closer than you think, So hit that like button if you're HYPED for the offseason. Drop a comment below what's got you most excited. Is it the Tunsil extension? The draft with Caleb Downs? Or keeping Bobby Wagner? And make sure you subscribe, because this is just getting started, bro. See you in the next video, fam. HTTR.